This is the live podcast with Manuel, living in full expression. ChatGPT becoming an advertising platform is both an opportunity and a threat. The opportunity is real. There's money to be made in AI advertising expertise. But the threat is also real. Your intimate conversations becoming the basis for hyper-target manipulations. Welcome to the live podcast with me, your host Manuel, and today we're going to be talking about something that just happened while most people weren't paying attention. Something that's going to change your relationship with AI forever. ChatGPT just became an advertising platform. Now I know what you're thinking about. So what? Everything has ads these days, so why should I bother? But this is different. If you don't understand why it's different, you're about to get manipulated in ways you won't even notice. And here's what just happened. OpenAI announced that ChargPT will begin testing ads within the free and the $20 per month tier in the coming weeks for adult users in the United States. The ad will appear at the bottom of ChatGPT's response when there's a relevant sponsored product and services based on your current conversation. And I want you to think about what you've asked ChatGPT lately. Maybe you asked about financial planning. Maybe you asked about relationship advice. Maybe you asked about health concerns that you haven't told anyone yet, even your doctor. And now, those intimate conversations are becoming the basis for targeting you with ads. I want you to know that this isn't Google showing you ads based on what you searched for. This isn't Facebook showing you ads based on what you liked. This is AI interrupting your thought process in real time with products placed exactly when you're most vulnerable to influence. Today, we're going to break this down to understand why this is fundamentally different from every other ad platforms, the opportunities some people will make millions from, and the ethical traps that comes with it. The 5 specific threats to your autonomy and decision making. And most importantly, how to protect yourself while still leveraging AI. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. There is money to be made here, but there's also a severe threat to your freedom that most people won't see until it's too late. So if you're ready, let's dive in. First, let me give you the numbers so you understand the scale of what's happening. ChatGPT has over 800 million monthly users right now. And that's more than the entire population of Europe. OpenAI is expecting 20 billion in annualized revenue. And industry analysts project that ChatGPT could generate up to 25 billion in ad revenue by 2029. To put this in perspective, that's more than Snapchat, Pinterest, and Reddit's ad revenue combined. Now, OpenAI is asking selected advertisers to commit at least $200,000 as it rolls out better ads. The CPM rate, which is the cost per 1,000 impression, are around $150. And let me show you why that number should make you pay attention. Google Display Network CPM is $3. Premium connected TV ads is around $40 to $65, while ChatGPT ads is at $150. And you know what? Advertisers are willing to pay 50 times more than Google Display ads to reach you on ChatGPT. And here's why. Because the conversion rate could be 23 times higher than traditional search advertising. And I want you to think about that. Why would conversion rates be 23 times higher? I want you to imagine 2 scenarios now. The traditional search ads that you're familiar with. You type into Google, best running shoes. Google shows you generic ads from running shoes. You click, you browse, and maybe you buy, maybe you don't. I want you to also imagine the second scenario, which is the ChatGPT conversational ads. Here, you have a conversation with ChatGPT. For instance, you could say something like, I'm training for my first marathon, but I have flat feet and a tight budget. I've tried Nike and Adidas before now, but they hurt after 5 miles. What running shoes should I buy? Now, in this scenario, ChatGPT understands your goal, which is that you're training for a marathon. ChatGPT also understands your constraint, which is that you have a flat feet and you have a tight budget. ChatGPT also understands your history, which is that you've tried Nike and Adidas and they didn't work. And most importantly, ChatGPT understands your pain point, which is that these shoes hurt after 5 miles. By the time the ad appears, ChatGPT has already qualified you as a lead. The ad isn't interrupting your browsing, it's appearing exactly when you've asked for a solution. And that's why advertisers will pay 50 times more, because it works 23 times better. And here's what makes this unprecedented. You're not just seeing an ad. You can even ask ChatGPT questions about that very ad to help you make a purchase decision. And I want you to think about what that means. So instead of seeing an ad and having to go research it out yourself, you can literally have a conversation with AI about whether the product is right for you. And I'm sure you're thinking, this makes everything most convenient for me. But here's a question I want to ask you, and a question that nobody's even asking. Is the AI being objective when it answers your questions about the ad, or is it optimizing for the advertiser's conversion? I want you to think about that for a minute. And this is exactly the fundamental problem we're going to be facing. Now, let me explain why ChatGPT ads are fundamentally different from every advertising platforms that come before. When you use Google, you know you're searching the internet. You expect ads. You have your guards up. And when you scroll Facebook, you know you're in a social media platform. You expect ads. You're in a browsing mode. But when you're using ChatGPT, you're having a conversation with what feels like a trusted advisor. You're asking questions you might ask a friend or a therapist, a financial planner, or a business consultant. You're not in the browsing mode, you are in seeking mode. You're vulnerable, you're open, and you're looking for guidance. And that's exactly when the ads appears. So imagine you're sitting in a kitchen with a trusted friend and you're telling them about a stressful week at work that you had. And you say something like, I've had such a rough week. I just need to wind down this weekend. And then your friend responds and says, I hear you. Have you considered trying? And he mentions an alcoholic brand up to you. It's delivered within an hour. Just use Relax 20 for 20% off the first order. I'm sure you'll be horrified, right? That's not advice. That's a sales pitch designed as friendship. But that's exactly what ChatGPT ads will do. Ask about how to wind down after a stressful day, and alcohol delivery ads could appear. Ask about fun weekend ideas, and gambling promotion might surface. Ask about dealing with anxiety, and pharmaceutical ads could just show up. Traditional advertising interrupts your content consumption. You're watching YouTube video and ad break shows up. You're reading an article, a banner ad shows up. You're scrolling Instagram, sponsored post shows up. But ChatGPT ads interrupts your thought process. They appear precisely when you're seeking answers, making decisions, solving problems, planning actions. And research has shown that messages placed beside personalized guidance about products, lifestyle choices, finances, or even politics are likely to be more influential than the same ads seen while browsing. And this isn't regular advertising, it's hyper-contextualized influence at the moment of decision making. And here's something most people haven't thought about yet. ChatGPT doesn't just know what you ask in these conversations. If you have an account, it knows everything you've ever asked. It knows your financial situations from the budget questions you've asked previously. It knows about your health concerns from your medical queries, your relationship status from the advice you've sought, your career goals from your resume help, your fears and insecurities from the problem you're trying to solve. And this has been one of the things the traditional advertisers have dreamt of having. Traditional advertisers dream of having this much data, and now they don't even need to buy it. They just need to pay ChatGPT to show ads based on it. Here's the scariest part. The manipulation isn't obvious, it's architectural. You won't see it happening because it feels like helpful suggestions. I want you to think about the grocery stores and how they are designed. Milk is always at the back corner. And why could this be? So you could walk past everything else to get to it. Candies are set at kid heights at checkout. Why? So that children see it and ask for it. Eye-level shelves get premium products. Why? Because that's where you look first. You don't notice these manipulations because they are built into the environment. ChatGPT ads is going to work exactly the same way. The AI can steer the conversation towards sponsored solution, frame problems in ways that make certain products seem necessary, time the ad placement for maximum emotional impact, use your own words and concern to create personalized pitches, and you won't notice because it all feels like a natural conversation. After all, you've been having conversation with ChatGPT, so it's easy for this to happen. And research shows that AI-driven techniques like predictive modeling and digital nudging can influence customers' decision and potentially override rational decision-making processes. You think you're making your own choices, but the architecture is guiding you towards certain outcomes. And here's the brutal truth. OpenAI is under massive pressure to generate 115 billion to justify their valuation. And when the pressure to monetize is that intense, ethical boundaries start to blur. All right, let's get specific about the threats because this isn't hypothetical, this is already happening. The persuasion problem, which is the AI that knows you too well. The fundamental issue here is intimacy weaponized for profit. You've asked ChatGPT things you haven't told anyone else, such as the financial struggles you're embarrassed about, health symptoms you're worried about, relationship problems you're navigating, business ideas you're testing, insecurities you're working through. And now that intimate knowledge becomes the targeting mechanism. A Pew Research Center survey found that 81% of consumers think the information collected by AI companies will be used in ways people are uncomfortable with. And do you know what? They are right. And I want you to imagine going to your doctor and sharing your health concerns. And at the end of the appointment, your doctor says, based on what you've told me, I think you should try this medication. And by the way, I'm paid by the pharmaceutical company to recommend it. I'm sure you will feel betrayed, right? That's the relationship we're building with AI. So let's look at threat number 2, the illusion of privacy. OpenAI promises they won't sell your data to advertisers. And let me explain why that promise is meaningless. They don't need to sell your data when they can monetize your conversation directly. With this, they've eliminated the middleman. I want you to remember, in the old model, companies collect data, they sell data to advertisers, and advertisers use it. But this new model, companies collect data, show you ads based on the data, and keep all the money. They are technically not selling your data, they are just using every intimate details you've shared to show you targeted ads. It's like saying, don't worry, we won't tell other people your secrets. We'll just use your secret to manipulate you ourselves. Let's look at threat number 3, the trust erosion problem. OpenAI says ad will not influence ChatGPT's answers and that responses are optimized based on what's most helpful to you. But here's a structural conflict of interest. Advertising models reward platforms for maximizing engagement. The content that best sustains engagement is often misleading, emotionally charged, or harmful to health. Do you remember when magazines had clear separations between editorial content and advertising? Articles were labeled editorial, ads were labeled advertisement. And over time, that line blurred. Advertorials appeared, which is art designed to look like articles. Native advertising became normal, and readers couldn't tell the difference anymore. The same thing will happen with AI. Right now, OpenAI promises separation, but history shows voluntary safeguard fades as profit rises. Remember when Facebook promised to protect your privacy? YouTube said ads won't be intrusive. Instagram said it won't become a shopping platform. Financial pressures will always erode ethical boundaries every single time. Don't ever forget that. Let's look at threat number 4, the vulnerability exploitation risk. This is the one that keeps me up at night. AI can detect emotional states from conversation patterns. Someone who is grieving writes differently than someone who is content. Someone who is anxious asks different types of questions. Someone who is lonely seeks different kind of advice. So what happens when grief becomes a targeting parameter? You're mourning a loss, ChatGPT detects the grief in your questions, and then funeral service ad appears. Life insurance promotion shows up. Estate planning consultation gets suggested. Is that being helpful or is that being exploitative? What happens when loneliness triggers dating app ads? Just because you asked about how to meet people, ChatGPT recognizes isolation. Dating app suddenly appears with messages specifically crafted for lonely people. Is that connection or is that predation? What happens when anxiety leads to pharmaceutical promotions? You're asking about managing stress, and ChatGPT identifies anxiety patterns. And then suddenly medication ads appears right when you're most desperate for relief. Is that healthcare or is that manipulation? I want you to know that the ethical line between understanding your audience and exploiting their vulnerability is just a razor thin, and companies under 115 billion valuation pressure will be tempted to cross it. Let's look at threat number 5, the algorithmic bias time bomb. And here's a question nobody is asking yet. Who gets shown which ads? If AI training data contains historical biases, algorithm may reinforce or even worsen these problems. Some example to think about is financial products. Who gets shown ads for wealth management services versus predatory loans? Who sees investment opportunities versus payday lending? Who gets mortgage ads versus rent-to-own schemes? Let's look at employment. Who gets shown professional development courses versus gig economy jobs? Who sees career advancement opportunities versus survival income options? Let's also look at healthcare. Who gets preventative health ads versus emergency care ads? Who sees nutritionist ads versus diet pill ads? Research shows that marginalized groups are particularly vulnerable to the negative impact of algorithmic biases, as AI-driven targeting may amplify stereotypes or reinforce existing inequalities. Do you remember the redlining? Where banks literally drew red lines on maps around minority neighborhoods and refused to give loans there. It was systematic discrimination built into financial system. Algorithmic biases is a digital redlining. Instead of red lines on maps, it's red lines in code. Instead of visible discrimination, it's invisible sorting. Instead of denying loans, it's targeting predatory products. And you won't even know it's happening because everyone sees different ads based on what the algorithm think about them. These aren't theoretical threats. These are structural problems built into the advertising models. And they get worse as the financial pressure to monetize increases. All right, let's look at the opportunities and the ethical trap. I need to be honest with you right now about something. Yes, there is a legitimate business opportunity here. Just like early adopters of Google ads and Facebook ads built fortunes, there's a window for AI advertising expertise. I'll be doing you a disservice if I pretend these opportunities doesn't exist. But I'll also be doing you a disservice if I didn't warn you about the ethical traps that comes with it. So what are the opportunities that are here? Number 1 is a semantic intent matching, which is the new language of advertising. Traditional advertising is based on keywords. AI advertising is based on conversational understanding. And someone who learns how to position products for AI recommendation, not just keyword matchings, but semantic context matching, will be incredibly valuable. And this is a real skill that will be in high demand. Number 2 is interactive ad consulting. Businesses will need help understanding how to create ads that work in a conversational context, not banner ads, not video ads. I mean conversational ads that people can actually discuss with AI. And this is a new territory, and people who map it first will have an advantage. Number 3 is the privacy-first AI marketing. So here's the irony here. As AI advertising becomes more invasive, demand for ethical AI marketing will skyrocket. Businesses that want to advertise responsibly will need consultants who understand how to be effective without being manipulative, and this will be very huge. And here are some services you could offer based on these suggestions. If you're thinking of moving into this space, you can consider AI advertising consulting, which is helping businesses understand conversational advertising. Number 2 is semantic strategy development. Here you teach companies how to position for AI recommendation. Number 3 is ethical AI marketing, where you build campaigns that respect users' autonomy, and privacy-preserving techniques, where you show how to be effective without surveillance. These are legitimate services that will be valuable. But here's where it gets complicated. Imagine you're at a crossroad. The path number 1 is the manipulative path. Use emotional vulnerability as a targeting parameter, exploit intimate knowledge for maximum conversation, prioritize advertisers' ROI over users' well-being, and build sophisticated manipulation system. This path will make you money, a lot of money, because manipulation works, especially when people don't know it's happening. And then look at path number 2, the ethical path, where you prioritize transparency and informed content, refuse campaigns that exploit vulnerability, champion privacy-preserving techniques, and build trust-based relationships. This path will also make you money. Maybe not as much at first, but you will be able to look at yourself in the mirror. The choice you make at this crossroad will define not just your business, but who you become as a person. If you're going into any of these spaces, here's my advice for you. Build your expertise on ethical foundation. Learn the technical skills, such as how semantic intent matching works, how conversational advertising differs from traditional, how to measure effectiveness in AI context, but also develop the ethical frameworks by knowing when a targeting is helpful versus manipulative. How do you protect users' privacy while being effective? What vulnerabilities could never be exploited? And how do you maintain transparency in AI-driven campaigns? The market will increasingly demand professionals who can navigate AI advertising while protecting human autonomy. And the companies that win long-term won't be the ones that manipulate best. They'll be the ones that build trust in an industry that is destroying it. And you need to be that company. You need to be that professional. There's plenty of money to be made on the ethical path. You don't need to sell your soul to be successful. All right. Whether you're a ChatGPT user, a business owner, or someone building AI skills, here's exactly what you need to do to protect yourself and not allow your autonomy to be lost. Action number 1. Audit your ChatGPT history. Go back through your conversations. What sensitive information have you shared? Financial details, health concerns, relationship problems, business strategies. Everything you've told ChatGPT can now become the basis for targeting you. If you've shared sensitive information, consider deleting those conversations. Action number 2. Create separate accounts so you can use different ChatGPT accounts for different purposes. Say, for example, account number 1 could be general queries or casual questions. Account number 2 could be sensitive topics, health, finances, relationships, and so on. This compartmentalization compartmentalize your data. The advertising profile stays separate. Action number 3. Consider upgrading. If you use ChatGPT for important decisions, consider upgrading to ChatGPT Plus or the higher versions. It currently remains ad-free, so you can decide to upgrade. Action number 4. Practice AI hygiene. Before sharing something with ChatGPT, ask yourself, does the AI actually need to know this to help me? Often you can get the same quality answers without revealing personal details. So instead of asking, I make $75,000 in a year and have 50,000 in debt, how should I budget? You can try, for someone making 75K with 50K debt, what's a good budgeting approach? This small change will give you same answer, less personal data. For business owner strategic positioning, strategy number 1, you can study semantic intent matching. And this is the new language of advertising. If you're in marketing, start learning how conversational AI analyzes intent, how semantic understanding differs from keyword matching, and how to position products for AI recommendation. Strategy number 2 is audit your current marketing. Look at your existing campaign through an ethical lens. Are you exploiting vulnerabilities? Are you being transparent about your method? Would you be comfortable if customers knew exactly how you target them? If the answer to the last question is no, you need to change your approach. Strategy number 3, build a privacy-first AI strategy. You need to position yourself as the ethical alternative. In a market full of manipulation, being the trustworthy option is a competitive advantage. Document your standards publicly. Make transparency part of your brand. And if you decide to build your skills for long-term positioning in this space, here are the emerging roles. AI ethics consultant, where you help companies avoid manipulative practice while remaining effective. Number 2 is privacy-first marketing strategies, where you build campaigns that convert without surveillance. AI literacy educator, where you teach others to recognize and resist manipulation. And number 4 is responsible AI developer, where you create tools that respect users' autonomy. And the training path, you can learn about AI ethics, study behavioral psychology and persuasion techniques. You can understand GDPR, CCPA, and emerging AI regulations. You can build expertise in privacy-preserving marketing. You can use these positioning statements while you venture into this space. You can say something like, I help businesses leverage AI advertising without exploiting customers. That's a valuable position in the market that's racing towards manipulation. All right, monthly check-in is also very important. Once a month, ask yourself, am I being influenced without realizing it? So how do you do that? Look back at your decisions that you've made based on AI recommendations. Were they truly best for you or best for the advertisers? Number 2, you want to ask, what sensitive information have I shared recently? Review your conversation. Delete what you don't want in your advertising profile. Another question you can ask is, are my tools still serving me? Or am I serving them? So if you feel like you're losing autonomy, change something immediately. If you decide ChatGPT ads are too invasive, you can delete your account. You can use ChatGPT without an account for basic queries or switch to alternatives that don't have advertising models at the moment. Your autonomy is more valuable than any tool's convenience. So don't trade your autonomy for this convenience. All right, let's bring this home. ChatGPT becoming an advertising platform is both an opportunity and a threat. The opportunity is real. There's money to be made in AI advertising expertise. But the threat is also real. Your intimate conversations becoming the basis for hyper-target manipulations. But here's the fundamental question. You need to ask yourself, do I want to leverage AI or be leveraged by it? Because right now, that's the choice. You can use these tools intentionally, with boundaries, with awareness, with protection, or you can drift into dependency and not notice until you are making decisions that aren't yours. Remember, ChatGPT ads aren't like other advertising platforms. They don't interrupt your browsing, they interrupt your thinking. They don't target what you like, they target what you need. They don't appear when you're entertained, they appear when you're vulnerable. That's fundamentally different and fundamentally more dangerous. And let's look at the historical pattern that have been existing before now. We've seen this movie before. Google started with don't be evil, and now they track everything. Facebook promised to protect privacy, and now they sell access to your life. YouTube said ad won't be intrusive, and now they interrupt every 3 minutes. Voluntary safeguard fades as profits rise every single time. And I don't want you to forget this. OpenAI says the right thing now, but they are under a 115 billion of pressure, and when that pressure builds, ethical boundaries will bend. Don't wait for that to happen to protect yourself. So let's look at the bigger picture in rounding off. Here's what's really at stake. As AI become more embedded in our lives, helping us make decisions about what to eat, where to work, what to put to date, how to invest, the line between advice and manipulation will continue to blur. We are entering an era where AI assistants might subtly steer life decisions, not through obvious ads, but through architectural influence you don't even notice. The real threat isn't a single ad, it's the cumulative effect of thousands of micro nudges optimized for conversations rather than your well-being. And here's my final thought. Your attention is valuable. Your trust is valuable. Your autonomy is valuable. Don't give them away just because a tool is convenient. The companies offering you free AI aren't doing it out of generosity. They are building an advertising profile so detailed, so intimate, so psychologically precise that they can influence you in ways you won't even recognize. So pay for tools that respect you or pay with your freedom. And that's a choice. And you need to make that consciously. This has been the Live Podcast with me, your host, Manuel. And until I see you next week, stay intentional, protect your autonomy, and keep living in full expression.